I think that we can all agree that gaming journalism for a while now has been completely terrible. It's been a shell of itself of what it originally was back in the 2000s, right? Back in the 2000s and like I'd say the early 2010s, because it was really like the mid 2010s of when it really started to go downhill. But gaming journalism used to be amazing. It really did. It used to be great. Now it's a complete shit show. All it is, like literally 90% of the times, is people putting their political opinions into their articles every single time. Instead of giving reasonable, like actual articles that people would find interesting, they decide to just write out bullshit. And a lot of the times, they turn out to be hypocritical. And that is what we're talking about today, because there is this one gaming journalist on PC Gamer who he published this article about Stellar Blade a couple days ago after Stellar Blade has come out on PC. Its numbers have been absolutely like skyrocketed. I'm not sure what the player count reached over the weekend. The last time I checked it was like, I think it was Friday night was the last time I checked it, and it was doing amazing. And there is a lot of mods out for the game. Now, obviously it being Stellar Blade and Eve being hot, a lot of the mods in this game are, NSFW mods. And I have nothing wrong with that. She's hot. And the creators, the devs, they allowed you to mod this game. Like there was things that were put in place. I'm not exactly sure the details of it, but basically is that the model of Eve is extremely easy to mod, extremely easy to make cosmetics that people can then download. But this one gaming journalist has a complete issue with this, where they made this article saying Guna Game of the Year Stellar Blade's mods are 41% smart, ensuring gamers will never see the light of heaven. And in this article, he goes on to say that Stellar Blade finally hit PC 2 days ago, giving everyone a chance to do whatever it is the game is actually about. Unfortunately, no one knows what that is, because the entirety of discourse surrounding it is about the main character's butt. Well, I mean, you're just adding to that discourse then. Like, if you really were interested in the game, which it's definitely more of like I would say it's a Souls-like, but it's not really, because it's a lot more of a faster pace than a Souls-like is. But it's still like, if you go on like Steam, it's still classified under the Souls-like genre. It's definitely more of like, it's an action combat game. That's, to put it simply, it's an action combat game. I mean, all you have to do is look up gameplay for 5 seconds and you realize, it's an action combat game. But this guy obviously doesn't want to talk about that. And he goes on to say, well, now that butt is on PC, and you know what that means? Mods. And if I were to make a book right now on how many of those mods somehow made Stellar Blade even more NSFW than it is out of the box, I suspect I wouldn't make very much money. Not least because blah, blah, blah. By intense scientific calculations, counting, or very scientific, fully 96 of the 234 mods, 41%, that currently exist of Stellar Blade marked as adult, and frankly some of those that aren't marked as adult are probably NSFW. How do you feel about Eve feet hands? Good? Would you discuss that with your grandparents over Christmas dinner? Well, I mean, obviously not. There's not, like, why would I go ahead and do that? I don't understand, like, what kind of argument this person is trying to make by saying, would you discuss this over dinner? No, just like I'm not going to discuss of the time that I've, had sex with women to my grandparents. Like, how does that make any fucking sense? The majority are, well, what you expect, various ways to make Eve and other women in the game at various levels of nude. Someone did put her in an apron though, which I suppose leaves something to the imagination. There are also a lot of main menu replacers that just put hardcore smart on one variety or another right there on the home screen if that's your bag. Now look, I have no issue with what adults do in their privacy of their own home. Well, you obviously did, alright? If you went as far to make an article, and especially the fact that you named it Guna Game of the Year Stellar Blade mods are 41% smart, you obviously have an issue with it. Of course, if you didn't have an issue with it, you wouldn't have made an article about it. Just like me making this video about your article and saying I have no issues with your article. Of course I have issues with the way that you write articles and the fact that you're hypocritical, which I'll give reasons in a minute. You just have to give us a bit. We have to go through this article first. But anyways, they go on the right. If you want to turn your copy of any game into an overstimulating carnival of omnipresent erotic delights, please do so with my blessing. But I am a tad mystified. I do wonder what kind of lifestyle it is that leads a person to turn a video game main menu into hardcore pornography. At some point, are you so inured to sexuality that you have to cram it into every available crevice to feel anything? Would you not find more fulfillment if the erotic were less ambiguous, more rare, more precious? At least we'll always have Thomas the Tank Engine mods. That mod was actually really funny. I can't even lie. I did see the Thomas the Tank Engine mod and the Doom Slayer mod. Those ones were really, really fucking funny, right? This guy, all he's doing is complaining of the fact that there are so many smart mods on, like, you know, on Stellar Blade. And the funny thing is, right, is that before we get going into his other article and why I'll show you is that he's hypocritical, is that if you go ahead and you look at like other games that are like on, say, Nexus mods, if you look at Skyrim for an example, majority of the Skyrim mods are adult mods. If you go on a lot of games on Nexus mods, majority of those mods turn out to be adult mods, especially when you are able to mod the player characters or the NPCs in a game. Majority of them turn out to be adult mods. I don't know why. Like, I've never heard anyone ever complain about any other game ever in the history of when it comes to adult mods. But all of a sudden, Stellar Blade comes out on PC, and now they're all complaining about it having like sexual mods. It's like this has been happening for fucking years. Skyrim, great example once again. Majority of the mods. Oh my god, you think Stellar Blade mods are sexual? The Skyrim mods take it to a whole new fucking level. If I even like described some of the mods that you can get for Skyrim, this video and my channel would probably get fucking banned. But anyways, to show the hypocrisy in this man is that this guy, this exact same journalist, right? I don't even want to call them journalists at this point, because that's not what these people are. They're just bullshitters. They talk more shit than I do. I talk a lot of shit on this channel. These guys talk more shit than I do. But he made an article back in October last year saying, find love and abandon God with this 27,000 fully customizable Baldur's Gate 3 Asterian sex doll. This man made an article about how he was going out. So he says here, frankly, because I have absolutely visited an above standard number of custom sex doll sites in the last hour or so. The reason a retweet from Larian CEO calling attention to what is for the life of me 100% a custom sex doll of Baldur's Gate 3's Astarion. And then he goes on to talk about this fucking sex doll for a whole entire article, talking about the price at the end, where he says the price of the doll is minimum $10,000, though it's currently on sale for $3,500. Once you've got through all the accoutrements, you can customize every inch, including the actuation, body hair, and, well, size. You can easily double that price. It wouldn't surprise me if Tiffany's Asterion really did cost $20,000 or more once it's all said and done. And then at the next page he says, and you know what? Good for them. Far be it from me to judge anyone for how they spend their money or what they do to and with the fictional vampires they love in the privacy of their own home. After all, Tiffany's not alone. My sojourn through the seedier side of Baldur's Gate 3 fandom also introduced me to other possible Astarians. Honestly, this one from a creator called blah 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 actually captures the real vamp's appearance a lot more accurately than the one Tiffany got. To be fair, I think it was quite a lot later, so I imagine it's taken advantage of developments in silicone Asterion tech. And if you're curious but don't want to take the $20,000 plunge, you can just dip in a toe by picking up Asterion's terrifying eyeless head for a fraction of the cost. So, I have to take my glasses off for this because I have to rub my eyes. So let me get this straight, right? Let me get this straight. Is that in the first article, right? He says that he's a bit mystified and wonders what kind of lifestyle is that leads a person to turn their video game menu into hardcore pornography, right? Obviously, he says he doesn't have a fucking problem with these mods, but you clearly do because you made an article about it, called it a fucking Guna game, but all of a sudden, when there's a fucking sex doll that goes for $10,000 minimum, all glory to you. This doesn't make sense, okay? And with me personally, I don't give a shit either way. Honestly, if you have a game, right? You have Stellar Blade and you want to mod that game to the point where Eve's tits are huge, her butt is massive, and she's naked, go ahead. If you want to get a Vampirian sex doll, go ahead. I don't really care either way. But the fact is that they are holding, like, the fact that when it comes to, especially just Baldur's Gate 3 in general, right? The PC gamer, I've seen these journalists talk about how, oh my god, the bear sex scene is so great. It's amazing. The sex scenes, and I've literally seen articles talking about the sex scenes in Baldur's Gate 3 and how they're great. And this journalist talks about a fucking sex doll for a whole entire article, but all of a sudden, modding Eve to make her sexier, make her naked, and put her in obscure outfits is bad. Please make it make sense. It doesn't. What the fuck is wrong with these? The hypocrisy is insane. Like, if this guy, right, was like, both are bad, then I'd be like, you know what? Fair enough. If you think both are bad, that's because you're holding the same level of accountability for everything, right? You're holding that same level. Even if I still am like, you know what, I think that people should be able to do what they want with their video games. If they want to buy a sex doll, let them go. But if you were like, no, I think all of it is stupid and people are, you know, too strung up, they're too porn brain, and the brain rot's gotten to them too much, and you held the same level for all of it, I'd have respect for you. But the fact that you're holding, you know, you're like Stellar Blade, oh, people put her in a fucking bikini, disgusting. How fucking dare you do that? The fact that 41% of the mods on, you know, for Stellar Blade are sex mods. How fucking dare you? But oh my god, there's a vampire sex doll from Baldur's Gate 3. Guys, I need to save up my whole entire life savings because that's how much I make as a gaming journalist these days. I only make $10,000 over 5 years. Guys, I need to save up my whole entire... Like, what is wrong with you? This is why people don't respect these gaming journalists anymore. Because the hypocrisy is fucking ridiculous. I would definitely like to hear what you guys think about this down below. What's your opinions on gaming journalists in general these days? Gaming journalism in 2025, you know what it needs? It needs a hard fucking reset. That's what it does. It needs to die, and it needs to be built back up from the ground up. That's what needs to happen. But that's going to be it from me. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Peace out.